Welcome back. We're talking with Don about ways to reclaim our joy, not limit ourselves from having it too.
Yeah, right? So, and you had asked, Chris, how do you continue to hold that space? And it really is about surrounding yourself with the right people, right? Like figuring out who can lift me up when I'm not feeling joyful, who can
But you also
lift
give
others
yourself
up.
a pass. Let's be honest, sometimes it's just, you just want to be sad, you just want to be mad, or so I mean, do you give yourself a pass when you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You experience those, and even the person who I said was spontaneous harmony, she's not always harmonizing with everybody, but it's how do you bring it back up to that level, right? Like, how do you get to be your unique flavor? And it's by surrounding yourself with people who are going to go, okay, who are you called to be again? Or remind yourself. I really call them, you know, your tribe or your pride. Like, who do you want to be around? Who's going to lift you up and help you carry out that message to the world as well?
So how else can we stop making ourselves not get that joy or not reach for it?
Yeah, another one really is to focus on what I call the audience of two. Like, forget about pleasing everybody else. I mean, I look at, you know, with the tragedy that happened last Sunday, and Jason Aldean went online and said, you know, I'm canceling his concerts this last weekend. And all of a sudden you just started to see all this judgment, right, from him. And if I were talking to Jason, I'd be like, let it go. Like, stop focusing on what everybody else is doing and just focus on, are you pleasing yourself, doing what's right for you in that moment in time? And are you doing what God's called you to do? And if you can say yes to those two things, then let go of the other judgment. Because honestly, people aren't thinking about you as often as you think they are, right? Like, they don't have you on the top of their mind. Most of us are worried about our own selves. And so really to just focus on, am I being who I'm called to be? And am I doing what God's called me to do? And if I can say yes to those two, then let go of that as well.
So sometimes when you do that, though, it's really hard to connect with people because you're doing your own thing. Any suggestions or comments on that?
Yeah, really, if you're doing your own thing, again, going back to why am I doing it, right? Like, going back to the root of why. Am I doing it to be a people pleaser? Then really should I be doing it? You know, if I'm saying yes to something because I feel guilty, or when I hear myself say should, then I need to let that go and go back to, again, who am I called to be?
But what I'm saying, I think so many people don't do what they're called to do because they want to connect. Like Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks. These people took a stand, right?
Yeah.
And wasn't easy.
Right.
So how do you build up that courage, or how do you do that in spite of maybe not getting a chance to connect with people?
Yeah, I would say do it in baby steps, right? Like, Rosa Parks didn't just automatically wake up one day and say, oh, I'm going to sit on the bus in her seat. She did little baby steps and then kept pushing herself and finally said, you know what, this is who I'm really called to be. And at some point in time, the clients that I work with really go, I can't go back. Like, I can't be somebody I'm not called to be any longer. They've kind of drawn the line in the sand. And you are going to be different. Right? That's what we actually need in this world, is people to be different. I love Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, the thing that you should be proud of is trying to be yourself in a world that's trying to make you like everybody else. Right? And so really trying to be yourself, but it's really getting into that space and allowing yourself the time to figure out, who am I to be? I think that's part of the challenge, Chris, is that nobody sits down and really asks that question, who am I meant to be? We ask, what am I meant to do, right? Like, what's my career supposed to be, and what am I supposed to do in this world? But nobody ever spends that time saying, who am I supposed to be? Am I called to be the dreamer? Am I called to be an activist? Am I called to be infinite joy in this world?
Well, I think it gets so hard to think that way when it's usually we let kind of what we do dictate who we are, where it should be kind of the opposite. Yeah. Let who you are dictate what else you do out there.
Yeah, and you can do it in infinite forms, right? Like, to be doesn't mean you just do one job or one career type. To be, you can be that in a conversation, you can be it with your family, you can be it with your friends. And so again, bringing that energy into the world, and you find joy in the energy. Even if your being isn't infinite joy, I believe that on the outcome, once you find your being, you do find joy.
So what was the process you went through to figure that out for yourself? I mean, was it journaling? Was it you just sitting around and asking a lot of questions, or what's that process?
Went to a mountaintop and
for real though, I mean, I think because other people are like, okay, that sounds great, but how do I get there?
Yeah, right? So that's what I love working with clients, and really spending the time digging down into, we do a lot of meditation, we do journal writing as well, but it really is that taking that time away from this hectic world and reflecting on, what is that vibrational energy that I want to bring into the world? Who am I called to be? And one way that I do that is through retreats. So I have a retreat coming up in November out in Portland, Oregon. It's called Leap and Grow Rich. And really what we do in that 2.5 days is dig down into this. Because once you find your being, then I do believe that you can grow rich. And I'm not just talking in money, but you can grow rich in love and in health and wealth and all that kind of stuff as well.
So how can people reach out for your help coaching one-on-one or go sign up for the retreat?
Yeah, they can simply just go to dankaiser.com/leap retreat if they want to come to the retreat, and it tells you all about how you can become a God-sized dreamer and step into who you're supposed to be. Or else you can just reach me at info@dankaiser.com as well.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dawn.
Thanks.
What is it? Infinite joy? Infinite joy.
Infinite joy.
All right, stay with us when we come back. Much more coming up.